So the Blue Jays sweep the Padres at home with back-to-back shutouts. Okay, they're a game above 500. Fast forward a series later, and the Blue Jays are now 2 games below 500. How is this possible? Let's find out. My name is Scott McGregor, and this is Blue Jays Game Recap. Lights up, let's go. Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are back, and right now, with the game having gone final, we are welcoming you in to Blue Jays Game Recap on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Now, let's go to your hosts of Blue Jays Game Recap, Thomas McGregor, Ali Musa, and Scott McGregor in the Sports for Beginners podcast studio. Take it away, gentlemen, because when the umpire says, "You're out," or "That's the game," or "Let's play ball," we know it's time for some baseball. This is Blue Jays Game Recap. Take it away, gentlemen. Well, I'm convinced, folks, that was pretty much one of the best games I've seen the Tampa Bay Rays play against the Blue Jays. But for the Blue Jays, you just shut down, like a series ago, you just shut down the San Diego Padres, a team not even in your division. You shut them down 3-0 on a Tuesday night after an off day on Monday because of the Victoria Day long weekend. Then you score 2 touchdowns on Wednesday, and then you top it all off after they make you sweat, and you still end up sweeping the Padres 7-6. We're not going to talk a lot about the Padres on this episode of Blue Jays Game Recap here on Sports for Beginners. The logo you can see behind me, it's a little bit big so that you can't really see it in full, but there's also available on our video version on this side of the screen or that side. You'll notice that there is the logo up top for Sports for Beginners. With that being said, let's jump to it. As we know, our managers are John Schneider and Kevin Cash. But this runs a little bit differently, and this is how it's going to run for the remainder of the show and for the future of the show. Unless a manager change has happened here on Blue Jays Game Recap, whether it's on a season episode or whatever it is, we will not be going over the managers right from the get-go. What we will still be doing, however, is we will be jumping in to our meeting on the mound, which we're going to get to in a second. I will also reveal the line scores, including team comparison, to jump into other stats incorporated with the line score. And depending on how long it took to finish a game, based on the final score, we will keep it to at least a game or two in our opening segment. We'll get to the scoring of game 1 of this series between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays were a game above 500 at 25-24, and now they are 2 games below 500 at 25-27, going into a series starting in about an hour or so from now, I should say, about half an hour from now, I should say, at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. They go into a series against a Texas Rangers club that sits at a record of 26-28. More on Texas Rangers a little bit later. But the Tampa Bay Rays sit currently at 26-26, and they sit in second place in the American League East, despite sweeping the Toronto Blue Jays. All right, with that said, you now know where the records currently stand, 25-27 after this series for the Blue Jays, and 26-26 for the Tampa Bay Rays. I was about to say Lightning, but that's a hockey team. For the Tampa Bay Rays. Where are my manners? Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Blue Jays Game Recap. My name is Scott McGregor. I am the host of the program on Sports for Beginners, unless our host of Blue Jays Game Recap for On the Ice and Behind the Benches is able to check in with us and run this portion as well. All of the shows, when we were doing it just on Sports for Beginners with Thomas at the helm, were available on the Ice and Behind the Benches as well. We'll talk about that down the road as the season gets shorter. What the plan on that is as the season gets shorter. But with that all being said and all put together, we have business to attend to. Over the course of the program, I will let you know how things are running the rest of the way, but the opening of this is the pitching matchup, which we're going to get to right now, and then we're going to go right into our line score. So we are hitting the line score, but we're taking a couple of moments to do it. All right, enough said, enough gab. Let's get to it. Eric Lawyer started the first game, I should say, for the Toronto Blue Jays of this current series. And he would go one-on-one with Drew Rasmussen. Drew Rasmussen and Eric Lawyer going Lawyer. I'll go with Eric out. Eric, again, pronunciation. I give it my best shot to pronounce it, but if I mispronounce it, I apologize. Same thing with Drew Rasmussen. If I do not pronounce the name correctly, I should say, I do sincerely apologize. Eric Lawyer, Eric L., and Drew Rasmussen leading things off on the meeting on the mound on the Friday game, which was a night game at 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Of course, Saturday's game was also a night game. And then, of course, the day game was on Sunday. And that was quite an adventure for the Blue Jays, but an all-you-can-eat buffet for the Tampa Bay Rays. Hey, you know the bright side for the Blue Jay fans? Despite not scoring any runs and, of course, not getting much help offensively, I just said that twice. Yeah, you know what? It is what it is. I already said that. At least we didn't have to face Pete Fairbanks all series. We faced him twice. Speaking of not facing this guy 3 times, the third and final meeting on the mound featured the Hound on the mound, Chris Bassitt, against guess who? Once again, the Blue Jays will go head to head with Ryan Pepiot. Yeah, I think I got that right this time. Ryan Pepiot. I think I got that right this time. We'll see what the transcript says, but I think I got it right this time. Anyways, that is your meeting on the mound for game number 3. And he had quite a day, actually. Ryan had quite a day, actually. I can't really say the same for Chris Bassitt, but hey, in the end, a team's got to win and a team's got to lose. So one team's got to win, one team's got to lose. The Blue Jays laid a complete egg on Sunday's action, which was yesterday. And as Memorial Day weekend in the United States comes to an end, the Blue Jays will open up that Memorial Day weekend with a big series against the Rangers. But we're going to talk about the Rangers later on in the show. All right. We have hit our 10-minute mark, but I want to get these line scores in as quickly as possible. And we'll move into the scoring when we get an opportunity. Here we go. Perhaps I'll just leave it I'll make this a little bit longer and get at least through game 1. In the line score, speaking of game 1, the Blue Jays had 1 run on 4 hits, no errors. They left 8 men on base, did not steal a base, did not hit a home run. They had 5 total bases. For the victorious Tampa Bay Rays, they score 3 runs on 8 hits, 2 of them home runs, 17 total bases, no errors. They left 6 men on base and stole 1 base. In game number 2, same final score, different day, different pitchers. What did the line score say in game 2? Well, 3 hits, 3 runs for the Rays on 3 hits, 1 home run, 2 men left on, no errors, no stolen bases, and 7 total bases for the Tampa Bay Rays. For the Blue Jays, 1 run on 6 hits, 1 home run, 9 total bases. They left 8 men on base. No stolen bases and no errors. And last but certainly not least, for the Blue Jays, no runs on 4 hits, 4 total bases, no home runs, no stolen bases, 1 error, and they left 3 men on base. For the Tampa Bay Rays, 13 runs on 15 hits, 2 of them being home runs, 3 stolen bases, 7 men left on, no errors, and 24 total bases. So the Blue Jays lose 13-0 on Sunday, 13-0 on Sunday. They lost 3-1 Friday and Saturday. And here's how game number 1 transpired. As always, we like to join things from the scoring perspective. And well, here's what happened. Beginning in the bottom of the 3rd, we had a home run off the bat of Brandon Lau, his 9th home run of the year. A 2-run shot scores Junior Camilleri on the play. 2-0 Tampa Bay to start the game, I should say. Well, home runs continue. Curtis Med, his 2nd home run of the season, a solo shot, which made it 3-0. Fast forward to the top of the 7th, and the Blue Jays' only run would come on, guess what? It would come on, guess what? A double play. John Tanclees grounds into a double play. Brandon Lau to Jose Caballero, the first baseman at the time. Brandon was the shortstop at the time. Brandon Lau was the second baseman. The shortstop was Jose Caballero. First baseman is Curtis Med. He is able to get Ernie and Jonathan Clase out at second and first. Meanwhile, Addison Barger scores on the play. Alejandro Kirk, I should say, scores on the play. Addison Barger heads to third. Player of the game was the pitcher, Drew Rasmussen. 6 innings of work, no earned runs, 4 hits given up, 3 strikeouts. Junior Camarero was also a top performer, going 2 for 3, a double, a walk, and a run scored. And he went an inning and 2/3, gave up no hits, no earned runs, and 4 strikeouts for him. It's Braden Fisher, who would end up pitching in this game for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays record was 25-24. It is now 25-25. Tampa Bay's record was 23-26 coming into the series. It is now 24-26. And this is as the series is going on. So those are the records going into game 2 Saturday, which we'll get to Saturday and Sunday on the other side of a quick commercial break and a quick word from our friends at Broadcast Map and On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Stay right with us. Blue Jays game recap is on, and it will be back with more coverage of the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays right after these words from our friends at Broadcast Map and On the Ice and Behind the Benches. When we return, the scoring of game number 2 and the all-you-can-eat buffet scoring of game number 3 that led to the Blue Jays getting swept 3-0 after they took 3 games of their own against the San Diego Padres a series prior. And prior to those series, while the Blue Jays were at home, the Blue Jays took 1 out of 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays. We'll take a walk down memory lane prior to the game 2 and game 3 scoring when Blue Jays game recap continues. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To
learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Blue Jays and Rangers coming up in just a couple of moments from now. First pitch for that first game of their series, which starts today, is at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:05 p.m. Central, 12:05 p.m. Pacific. Just quickly double check that to make sure. That's 2:05 p.m. Mountain Time, 1:05 p.m. Pacific Time, and that's coming up in just a moment's time, as we are recording this ahead of that series. But anyways, we got games to get to before we get to setting up the Rays and the Blue Jays next set of games. There are 2 games left to get to. We got to 1, but also did the line score of all 3 games in our opening segment. Kinda did the management right off the jump, which was an oops, but you know what? It's fine. We were explaining how things were going to work, so hopefully things work out the way that we want them to, and we will see where it goes. Okay, speaking of seeing where it goes, in our last commercial break, our first commercial break, I should say, you heard from On the Ice and Behind the Benches, and of course, Broadcast Map. In the next break, after we are done with game number 2 and number 3, and I also have gotten into a little bit of a pitching line, which we're going to get to later in this segment, I will let you know that we are getting into a very special announcement coming straight from the office of Sienna T Radio. Because the Cosmopolitan Culture Club and the Song Bank, well, particularly the Song Bank last week, was not able to air, Sienna has something really special lined up for us this Thursday. We'll get into the announcement after we get through our scoring. And speaking of that, without any further ado and any further interruptions, let's get to it. Junior Camarero gets things started with his 9th home run of the season. It's a 3-run shot, but this time the action began in the bottom of the first, I should say, and then pretty much ended in the top of the 6th. But given the line score, there was a lot more that went down, just not a lot of runs. In the scoring, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets the only other home run of the ball game, his 7th of the year. A solo shot gets the Jays on the board, but once again, Pete Fairbanks, who played in game number 1, he comes in and shuts down the Blue Jays in the top of the 9th. Not the bottom of the 9th, the top of the 9th, I should say. And the Rays were getting hot after the opening game. They stayed hot after game 2, and they got even hotter when they pulled off this all-you-can-eat buffet in game number 3 on Sunday, which was a 13-0 victory for the Tampa Bay Rays. Here we go. It all began with a home run from Brandon Lowe, his 10th home run of the season. The tale of the Lowe Bros has returned. It's a 2-run shot. Both of the Lowe Bros, Brandon and Josh, score on the play. A 2-run shot for Brandon Lowe, his 10th of the year. In the bottom of the first gets things started. It's 2-0 Tampa Bay. Bottom of the 5th we go. And this one was a loaded bottom of the 5th. Junior Camarero doubles, his 8th double of the season, scores Josh Lowe, and Brandon Lowe goes to third base on this play. So it's 3-0 Tampa Bay. A little later, now this is a play I was very concerned about, and I do not agree with the umpiring call. But in the end, the call is the call. I thought that Brandon Lau, I thought that he was out by the stretch of the glove from Blue Jays catcher in this matchup, Ali Sanchez. He was in for this game on emergency, well, I think it was an emergency. I don't know if it was an emergency or not, but anyways, he came into this game in place of Tyler Heineman, who was placed on the IL before this game began. And I thought this tag by Ali Sanchez got Brandon Lowe, but it did not. So the Rays will score on the play. Ernie Clement, the second baseman, shout out to my boy Ernie. He tried to throw Brandon Lowe out, and the Jays did challenge. It was a hit by Jonathan Aranda. The Blue Jays did challenge the play Clement made to home, as it will be ruled a fielder's choice, so it's not going to be a hit for Jonathan Aranda. But Ernie Clement decided to throw to the plate to get an out, and it was ruled safe. And then the Blue Jays did challenge the tag play. Call on the field was upheld, so it did stand. But I think, and I might have to rewatch this clip a little bit more, but I still believe Ali Sanchez put the tag on Brandon Lau, and therefore he should have been out. I really feel like he should have been out. I really do. But he was not. So the Rays score their fourth run of the ball game. The onslaught would continue as Chandler Simpson hits a ball hard and gets a single out of it. Junior Camarero scores on the play. Jonathan Aranda going to second on the play. 5-0 Rays. Bases loaded. Jonathan Aranda will score on this play. Chandler Stevenson to third. Taylor Walls to second base. Cameron Mincer walks in Tampa Bay's sixth run of the season. I should say of the game rather. Ben Rovert. I'll go with Ben R. If I pronounce that wrong, apologies in advance. He singles on a fly ball to right field. Chandler Simpson scores. Taylor Walls also scores on the play. It's a 2-run single, which will put runners at the corners. Cameron Mincer at third base at this play. It is 8-0 Tampa Bay. Yandy Diaz, a ground rule double, his 10th of the year, down the right field line, and Cameron Mincer scores. Ben R goes to third on this ground rule double. Bottom of the 7th we go. Now we're at 9-0 Rays. Bottom of the 7th we go. Ben R grounds out. Michael Stefanik to Ernie Clement. This time Ernie is at first base. Taylor Walls scores. Cameron Mincer back at third base. Yandy Diaz out sharply. Second baseman Miles Straw to Ernie Clement gets him out. Cameron Mincer scores. It's 11-0. And then the cherry on top. Christopher Morel into the game. Curtis Med, third home run of the year. 2-run shot. It's 13-0 Tampa Bay, and that's all she wrote for the game. So the Blue Jays score 2 touchdowns against the San Diego Padres in the series prior to this one. Get absolutely manhandled by the Rays in game number 3, which was yesterday, 13-0. But they pick up some hits, 4 to the exact. They also score 1 run in each of the Friday and Saturday contests. So those games were winnable games. If they could get 2 more, maybe 3 more runs, and they could probably stun Tampa Bay and do exactly what they did in Toronto a week ago, or about a week ago. Yeah, I believe that it was about a week ago, because the series finished off with San Diego earlier this week, and then this weekend prior to today, the Tampa Bay Rays have met the Blue Jays again. And over the course of the week before the weekend of the 17th, 16th, and 18th, into the Victoria Day long weekend, which was the off day on Monday, they were taking on Detroit. So call it what you will, but now the Blue Jays might be in a bit of trouble with the way they lost games to Tampa Bay. Hey, you know what the good news is? Even though this was at the Yankees spring training complex, which is George M. Brenner Field, I should say. The good news is we might get to do it again real soon, but the other thing is we also get to do it one more time in Toronto. You think Toronto will want some revenge? I think so too. All right, scoring of both games out of the way for games 2 and 3. We did game 1 early on. Let's get to our pitching matchup, our pitching line. Actually, before we do, let's do a look at our performers. We talked about the guys in game 1 during the opening segment. Now we're in the middle portion of the show here. Let's talk about the guys in game number 2 and game 3. Well, in game number 1, the player of the game was in game number 2, I should say, the player of the game was Junior Camarero. 1 for 3, a home run, a strikeout, 3 RBIs, and a run scored. The top performers for the Blue Jays were Anthony Santander, 2 for 2. He drew 2 walks in this one. And Jose Barrios had a pretty good outing. 3 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, 3 hits in 6 innings of work. In case you missed game 1's player of the game and, of course, the top performers, it was the starter of game 1, Drew Rasmussen, who earned the player of the game, going 6 innings, allowing no earned runs, 4 hits, and 3 strikeouts. You also had Junior Camarero, 2 for 3, a double, walk, and a run scored, and Braden Fisher. 1 and 2/3 innings, no runs, no hits, 4 strikeouts given up for him. All right, game number 2. We went over those. Anthony Santander, Junior Camarero, and of course, Jose Barrios, who were the top performers in game number 3. Of course, the starting pitcher is going to be the player of the game. Ryan Pipley, 7 innings of work, 5 Ks, no earned runs given up, 3 hits given up, 5 strikeouts rather. Curtis Med was 1 for 1 with a home run, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. And Brandon Lau, home run, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. He went 3 for 4 in the ball game. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout, get to the pitching line in just a mere moment. We are at the halfway mark of the show. Our pitching line is next. This will come from game number 2 of this series. And again, both game 1 and game 2, very winnable games for the Blue Jays, but they dropped 3-1. And in game number 3, they just did not have any gas in the tank to get anything going for Chris Bassett. We'll get to game 2's pitching line next, plus players of the series. And we'll get you a look at the MLB standings heading into play today. A couple of games underway right now, including our game against the Rangers. That one's set to go in about a few minutes from now, as it is a start time of 4:05 p.m. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Rays will be playing in about a few hours from now. They'll be playing the Twins, who are 29-23. Texas is 26-28 coming into that series. All right. That all said and done, we will be right back with a quick update from our friends at Sienna T Radio regarding programming. And of course, it's time for the pitching line. And stay where you are, because we are going to get to players of the series before that segment is up. We will return to Blue Jays game recap in a moment.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m. And I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to Siena T Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait! I think I made it! Siena T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Well, this series with the Rays and the Blue Jays was certainly fun, but it's important to know when the fun's over. And really, Blue Jay fans and Tampa Bay fans, the fun was never really over for a team like the Tampa Bay Rays. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. That wasn't even. Yeah. That wasn't even. The kicker here is that was not even in. It was not even in Tampa Bay. It's not even in Tampa Bay. I mean, are you kidding me right now? It wasn't even in Tampa Bay. All right. We have one more segment to get to here, which is closing up shop. But before we can close up shop, I want to get into the pitching line of game number 2. I also want to make sure we get into the players of the series, and I also want to make sure that we get into setting up the next series, which will come up in about a 30-second timeout. But quickly, before we jump there, Siena dropped some interesting news on us, and I won't get into the personal stuff because that is personal, and I want to keep that personal between Siena and, of course, her family. So I will not jump the gun on that. But very, very interesting news regarding why that happened. And first of all, I would like to just quickly mention that I send my condolences to Siena and her family, as they did lose somebody in her family, but I won't say who because it's not my place to say. I also don't know Siena's family that well. Besides people that she is associated with, like our good buddy Ali over at Broadcast Map, and of course, people like Nick Blazewicz, Samantha Ash, and of course, Robert Godridge. I did notice that, according to Nick, last Saturday was just a double play. Just the Melting Pot and the Classical Cafe. There was no Hourglass on the way afterwards. But here was some big news that Siena sent on Friday, May the 23rd. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you're all keeping well and that you have had a wonderful start to the weekend. This is just a quick heads up that she will be away from the studio, and of course it was on Friday evening and Saturday evening, which was May the 24th. So this week's Song Bank for the 23rd of May will be airing on Thursday, May the 29th, right before the Cosmopolitan Culture Club for the week. That is right, listeners. We will be having on Siena T Radio, not one, but 2 programs on one night. One is 2 hours, the other is an hour, which means we got, as we say here on Sports for Beginners, double trouble. But on Siena T Radio, it's a double dose that we will do, or that Siena and the crew will be doing on the radio station. She adds, come join me, I should say, me as in Siena, not me as in Scott, from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern for a fun-filled episode of the Song Bank, where I'll play upbeat songs you can move and groove to, as well as relaxing songs you can chillax to over your favorite meal or beverage. And as always, she is more than happy to play your requests, whether it be a special request for you or a special song you wish to dedicate to a friend or a loved one. There's lots of time to submit your requests, so please send them in via the email at sienatr siennatradio@gmail.com or via the request box on the Sienna T Radio homepage. And Sienna will be happy to play them on the show. Oh, and of course, no song bank is complete without the exciting features, including the main feature that everybody loves, Name That Tune, as for the main segment. As for the main segment of the show, she is super too excited to say that the future for an exchange, a segment where listeners and the host, Sienna, will hear a song in one language that she shares, or that shares a melody with a cover version in another language. The lyrics may not necessarily have the same meaning in both languages, but the melody is the same for both versions. What a great way to gear us up for the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, which will air right after the Song Bank at 9 p.m. Eastern. And since the Cosmopolitan Culture Club is a 1-hour program, I've got a question for you. Have you ever wanted to travel around the world but never had the chance? I've got another question for you. Before I continue on with what Sienna said, have you ever wanted to do that without having to leave the comfort of your own home, wherever you may be in the world? If the answer is yes, then you'll definitely want to stick around right after the Song Bank, because from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, Sienna will be back aboard Flight Sienna T Radio for the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, which is a show where she will play songs from around the world for you, the listeners, in many different languages, as well as some traditional instrumentals thrown into the mix. And of course, just like Name That Tune, we have everyone's favorite main segment, Name That Country, where Sienna will play an instrumental version of a national anthem, and the goal is to guess the country to which it belongs. Towards the end of the show, 2 songs will be played from said country. It's going to be a fun-filled, magical musical trip around the world, and she is looking forward to having all of you along with her for the ride. Unfortunately though, Sienna, I may not be able to attend those shows, but I did tell Nick on a Discord server, that maybe if I'm not able to attend them, I will probably attend the action in the studio on the Saturday, or at least one show. We'll see. So you've got the Classical Cafe, you've got the Melting Pot on Saturdays, and you also have the Hourglass, but Robert was not able to make it into the studio for Saturday, May the 24th. Maybe he'll be in the studio for the first June programming of the year, or at least the last one of May 2025. We will see. But yeah, that was a big announcement from Sienna, so I'm super excited for fans listening to this show. I'm super excited even if I'm able to attend it. I'm super, super, super excited for that. I feel like it's going to be a fun show regardless. And speaking of fun shows, it's been a fun show so far on Blue Jays Game Recap. Yeah, it's been a bit of a somber note for the Blue Jays, and it's been a bit of a somber note for us as Blue Jay fans. But the good thing about baseball is you get to do it all over again real soon. And speaking of real soon, we got ourselves a series to set up. Before we can set that up, we want to get to a break, but before we get to the break, I promised you a pitching line, and we're going to make good on that promise. We're talking about Game 2. And the only 2 pitchers besides Jose Barrios that pitched in Game number 2 were Mason Fluharte and Paxton Schultz. Both of these men went 1 inning. Mason gave up a walk and a strikeout, had an ERA of 2.14. Jose Barrios, 6 innings of work, 3 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 3 runs given up, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, and a home run given up. His ERA was 4.22 at the end of the game. That is Barrios' second loss of the 2025 campaign. He came into this game with only 1 win and 1 loss, and now he has 2. Paxton Schultz finished the game with an ERA of 3.52. No strikeouts, no home runs, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, no runs given up. So he had a pretty good day. Shane Baz. Well, that's a familiar name, and so is Ryan Pipwaite. That's a familiar name. Shane Baz improved his record from 3-3 to 4-3, going 5 2/3 in game number 2, allowing just 4 hits, 1 earned run, which was the home run off the bat of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the top of the 6th inning. He finished the day with an ERA of 4.94. Then it was off to the bullpen, and the first Tampa Bay Ray pitcher to pitch in game number 2 out of the bullpen was Garrett Clevinger. Went an inning and a third, gave up 2 hits, finished off the 6th inning, and started at least the 7th inning, but was pulled there. He gave up 2 hits, nothing more. ERA of 1.77. Next up would be Rodriguez for Tampa Bay. That would be this man, Manuel Rodriguez, in an inning, nothing given up, an ERA of 2.22. Interesting, and also no strikeouts. Pete Fairbanks picked up his 9th save of the season in game number 1, and in game number 2 of this series, he picks up good old save number 10. Walked 2 Blue Jay batters, didn't give up much more, and of course, didn't strike out anybody, but his ERA to finish off, slightly a bit better than Manuel Rodriguez at 2.05. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are exactly 15 minutes away from Rangers and Blue Jays, but you know what? We want to do this, and we got to get it done. So, players of the series from game number 2 for the Blue Jays, there really is only one person I could think of, and that's the guy that got things going for the Jays, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But you know what? We're going to go ahead and give it to one of the top performers of the game, and that is Anthony Santander. 2 for 2 in the game. And between all 3 games for Tampa Bay, I got to give my credit to Brandon Lau. I thought he was absolutely great in this series. He has a couple of home runs in this one in game number 3. He also did score a run on the questionable fielder's choice. At least I thought it was a questionable one. And I still believe he was out, but it is what it is. The call was upheld, by the way. But I still thought he was out. I thought that was a nice grab by Ali Sanchez. Maybe not a good throw from my buddy Ernie Clement, but Ernie, there are going to be days like that. So the good news about baseball is you get to suit up and do it all again tomorrow. Tomorrow as in today, because, well, in just about 14 minutes from now, rather, we are heading to Arlington. I should say we are in Arlington, and we shall see what the Blue Jays do in Arlington against the Texas Rangers. You can watch it on Sportsnet, and of course, Sportsnet 1. You can also listen to the game on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. To recap our players of the series, Anthony Santander from game number 2, he went 2 for 2. And of course, Brandon Lowe of the Tampa Bay Rays. The next time the Tampa Bay Rays and the Blue Jays will be seeing each other will not be until later on in the year, and right after the All-Star break. They will not see each other till September, when they take on Tampa Bay back here at the field where games 1, 2, and 3 went down at the New York Yankees Spring Training Complex at George M. Steinbrenner Field. That is when they will next meet, and then the next time they are in Toronto will be at the end of the year during the final 6-game homestand of the 2025 campaign, where they will take on the Red Sox. And then the Rays. All games are 3-game series. They will have a 4-game series because of Roberto Clemente Day before they take on the Royals after a 6-game homestand, with the Astros and the Orioles coming into town early on. All right, but one series, one game at a time. The next Blue Jays homestand starts at the end of May and is our first homestand that begins the month of June. Where are the Rays at this point in time? We know the Blue Jays will start a series with the Texas Rangers in just about 15, 14, 13 minutes from now. The homestand for the Rays will continue, and we'll break it all down for you in about 30 seconds, right after a quick word from our boys. You know what? Let's do a quick word from our station. And I can only think of saying, let's do it from the Weekly in Sports podcast, because I have a lot to talk about on Weekly in Sports as we get closer to premiere day for the end of the month May program. And again, if you have any questions or concerns about the show, email me at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com, and we'll talk more about that in 30 seconds.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Blue Jays game recap. Blue Jays and the Rays. A 3-game series gone awry for the Blue Jays that set them to a record of 25 and 26. Make that actually 25 and 27. I am your host, Scott McGregor. This is the point of the show, the closing point. Oh, it's over? It's over? Is that right? Well, yes, it's over for now. But we will be back with another Blue Jays game recap for you immediately following the Oakland Athletics series between the Athletics, the Athletics, not the Oakland Athletics. They used to be called the Oakland Athletics. They are the Athletics. That is what they are preferred to be called right now. So just want to quickly clear that up. The Athletics series against the Jays starting on Thursday. We will be back with you on June the 1st. It might drop on June 2nd. We will see. But we will be back with you following the end of the Athletic series, where the Blue Jays will be taking on the Athletics from Thursday, that's this Thursday, May 29th, 2025, until June 1st, which is this coming Sunday. They are currently playing the team that followed this series. The Blue Jays are currently going to be playing the team that followed this series, which is the Texas Rangers. We were getting you ready at the beginning of the show and over the course of the show for Game 1 at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. The rest of the two games in that series are at 8:05 p.m. Eastern. And of course, Blue Jays Central, as it is always a half hour before the game. This one will be at 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. I should say 4:30 Pacific, 6:30 Central. Hope you enjoy the games. We do also know about the first final of both of those series for the Rays and the Blue Jays outside of them playing each other. Blue Jays defeated the Rangers in Game 1, 2-1. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Rays picked up a 7-2 victory on the day of Game 1. First pitch set for the night game. First pitch was set for a night game for Tampa Bay. That was set up for 7 o'clock, I believe, 7 p.m. Yep, that was set up for at least 7:05 p.m. It was a minute after 7:05 p.m. Blue Jays game was a 4:05 p.m. Eastern game to start the series with the Texas Rangers. The action for both of these series continues today as the Blue Jays continue their series with the Texas Rangers. First pitch, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. First pitch of the game between the Twins and the Rays in game number 3 is an afternoon start. That's a 1:10 p.m. Eastern time start. Start time of game number 2, which is underway right now as we speak. Yes, it is underway. Start time of that ball game that game is going on right now, by the way, as we speak. Blue Jays coming up very shortly with game 2 of the Texas series after wrapping up a Memorial Day weekend series with the Tampa Bay Rays. All right, let's see if we could find out. When did first pitch fly today? First pitch did indeed fly at 7:05 p.m. Eastern. So just like the game where they beat Minnesota 7-2, they start this one on time, it actually looks like. They started about a minute after 7:05 p.m. Eastern time in their last go around. With that said, let's not jump any more into the games currently going on. But the Blue Jays will play the Athletics after the Rangers, and they played the Rangers after the team we are talking about, the Tampa Bay Rays. The Blue Jays will be home for a showdown with the Philadelphia Phillies from the 3rd to the 5th of June. Then they will be heading out to Minnesota, St. Louis, and Philadelphia before the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Chicago White Sox come to town for six. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take a terribly sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen. We had a we had a connection problem there as we were rolling on. As I was saying, Blue Jays will be facing the Phillies after the Athletics and after their current series going on right now against the Texas Rangers. Then they will hit the road for a couple of games, a 9-game homestand, a road trip, I should say. They will take on the Twins, Cardinals, and then the Phillies once again. So 3 series later, and we're back to Phillies and Blue Jays. Then the Diamondbacks are here for 3, including Hot Dog Night at the ballpark. And of course, the White Sox will be in Toronto for 3 games, including Pride Night presented by TD. And of course, we got a nice big game coming up on the White Sox series as we enter into the last road trip of the June schedule, but 1 series at a time and 1 game at a time. All right, to Tampa Bay when we were kind of rudely interrupted. They are currently facing the Minnesota Twins. Both teams' records as they stood when we were last recording were at 25-27 and 26-26. The records have changed since we were recording. Now the Tampa Bay Rays are 27-26, a game above 500. A couple of games still above 500 are the New York Yankees at 33-20, and they lead that division. The Blue Jays are 3rd in the division, a game under 500, with that win against Texas in the opener of that series. Boston is at 27-29, 2 games under 500, and Baltimore is at 19-34. The Texas Rangers came into the series against Toronto at 26-28. They are now 26-29. And for the Minnesota Twins, who play in the Detroit Tigers standing area, they are at 29-24 as we speak right now. Still above 500 and tied with the Cleveland Guardians at 29-24. Alrighty. So what is next for this podcast? And what is next for Blue Jays game recap? Well, for Blue Jays game recap on Sports for Beginners, we will have a Blue Jays game recap program following the Athletic series, and then we'll try to squeeze one in for the series against the Philadelphia Phillies later in the week. What's next for our podcast? Huddle up, everybody. Huddle up, huddle up, huddle up. It's episode 14 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners as we get ready for football season. Football season is around the corner and the preseason is on its way. And I can't wait to explain to you all when Bills postgame returns to Sports for Beginners, the logo you see behind me. And, wait for it, on the ice and behind the benches. Of course, that also means the return of Dolphins postgame. And hold all tickets because we're not just doing postgame. No. This year, we are going to be doing pregame as well with our Buffalo Bills show. Slightly going to turn in a direction of also being a pregame show for the Dolphins, but it's called, nonetheless, no matter what team it's getting you ready for, and it's a football show, before they kick off. Each show will be different depending on if it is a Bills show or a Dolphins show, but you'll find out more about that over the coming weeks and during the episode. So make sure you jump on into that when need be. For now, for Blue Jays game recap, until the Blue Jays take on the Athletics, not the Oakland. They used to be called the Oakland Athletics, but they are now just the Athletics. Until the Jays take on the Athletics. My name is Scott McGregor. Final scores of games 1, 2, 3 for the Rays and the Blue Jays. Their most recent series in a 4-game set of series is 2 at the New York Yankees Spring Training Complex and 2 at Rogers Center. The Rays sweep the Blue Jays 13-0 on Sunday, May the 25th, 2025, 13-0. And on May the 24th and May the 23rd, which was a Friday, by scores of 3-1. Saturday and Friday's final score 3-1 in favor of the Rays. And then they just eat Toronto alive, 13-0 your final from Sunday's action. Once again, the final scores of the current series going on. So far, the Blue Jays have beat the Texas Rangers 2-1. I was going to say 20, but no, that would be wrong. 2-1 in game 1. We'll wait and see what the finals of the remainder of the series are. And of course, the Minnesota Twins drop an interesting game in the regular season to the Tampa Bay Rays last night at 7-2. And they are currently playing in game number 2 of their series as we speak. The score right now is 1-0. My name is Scott McGregor. That is it for this one. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you on the next Blue Jays game recap. And don't forget, end of the month weekly in sports program coming your way. Hopefully dropping ahead of the Athletic Series and ahead of game 2 of the Athletic Series. We will have our football program as episode 14 of season number 4 of Sports for Beginners. For now, I am Scott McGregor. That is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching/listening. However you may be tuning in, we really appreciate you taking the time to check us out. If you like what you heard, please consider giving us a rating if you think we've earned it. Give us a review if you think we earned it. Tell all of your friends. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube at Weekly in Sports with Scott on YouTube. That is where you can find both podcasts, Weekly in Sports, and of course, Sports for Beginners, as well as our other content that we do, and then some. Subscribe to both podcasts available on Spotify and Apple. And of course, Sports for Beginners is available on 5 platforms, including Spotify and Apple. So however you listen to the show, we thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all again real soon. I'm out. Peace. Oh, and by the way, lights up. Let's go Blue Jays. Thank you so much for joining us on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, for Blue Jays game recap, the after show on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, right after every Blue Jays game. To learn more about upcoming episodes, when they drop, and schedule, please visit https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/sportsforbeginners87. Send us an email at sportsforbeginners87@gmail.com. Follow Ali, Thomas, and Scott on Twitter at Scott McGregor3, Thomas J, and ALI Musa. Follow Thomas and Scott on Instagram at SMC_87_ and TM_80 and TM00_.
Thanks for listening to Blue Jays Baseball, and we hope to see you soon again. This has been Blue Jays Game Recap. Once again, the website is https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening. And when it's time for the Blue Jays to play ball, there's only one chant Blue Jays fans will be using. Catch you later, baseball fans.